Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about screening. This is the approach to dating that led to the happiest and most fulfilling times I've ever had in my romantic and sex life. I'm structuring this video by just asking a bunch of questions about the topic that I'll answer. First of all, what is screening? Screening, very simply put, is just having a strict criteria for the types of girls that you date. Finding out if the girls meet the criteria as early as possible and then strictly not dating the ones that don't pass the screening. How do we typically advise that you do this? There are several ways, the most obvious of which is, just asking questions of prospective girls, specifically tailored towards finding out as early as possible, do they meet the criteria? The other thing you can do is, telling girls what you're looking for. And then, but this is actually a more aggressive way of doing it, because if you tell them and they stick around, they are personally in for it too, as opposed to, just hoping that the girl is looking for the same thing that you're looking for out of the relationship, whether that be more casual or be more committed long term. This part of screening, I think, is very important for figuring out, is she all in with what you want on her side? Then the third one is a bit more complicated, a little more tricky, which is sub-communication. This is like you build how you present yourself and market yourself, I guess, in the dating pool. This is whether your online profile, just your lifestyle, how you're living. The most obvious example I can think of this is if you're looking for like a lot of casual sex, walking around dressed and acting like a good little Christian boy isn't going to, screen in the people who are most looking for that. They will cross you off the list. On the opposite side, if you want, a long-term committed relationship with a nice girl who's religious, walking around and acting like and dressed like a fuckboy is not going to help you. So you kind of understand screening can also be something that is done like passively by how you present yourself, how you act. I'm probably going to call this like advanced dating technique, like secret flashy advanced dating technique. So what do I mean by advanced in this concept? It literally just refers to the fact that there's like two levels, the way I view it in dating. And there's probably more, but this is just the simplest way I can break this down, is that level one as a guy is you aren't able to get dates. You're maybe still a virgin, you're inexperienced, you just aren't able to attract enough women to get options. So if you're at level one, screening is kind of like not relevant yet. You have to learn how to position yourself as someone who is attractive, especially to the girls you're looking for. You actually, a lot of times, don't even know what you want. Like, you haven't had enough experience to know what you want in terms of criteria for girls you want to date. So yeah, this is like level one, whereas on level two is where screening really starts. And this is more, guys can get dates, but the problem is they haven't found the girls, or a lot of the girls they're looking for. So level two, the problem is, typically I can't find the girls that I want. My dating life is successful, but unfulfilling. And this is where screening comes in, because screening means you are going to start like really searching and going really hard towards only dating the girls that you actually want to date. The benefits here is you don't waste time and energy on girls that don't meet screening criteria. You just focus on the ones that do. That's why I've said it was the most fulfilling and easiest time periods of my dating I've ever had, is when I went really hard on the idea of screening, because I wasn't getting frustrated. I wasn't wasting a lot of time. I wasn't doing anything with girls that weren't going to make me happy based on the criteria that I'd figured out. But yeah, you do need some experience to know what that criteria is, unless you're really fucking certain from day one. Like you haven't lost your virginity yet, you haven't had any experience, but you know exactly what you're looking for. Fair enough, start screening from the off. But a lot of the guys we run into online, they tend to be more, I want to, casually date for a while. I want to get a lot of experience. I want to sleep with more girls. Those guys are better off, starting with figuring out how to be attractive first, and then move on to this once they've figured out more of an abundance with options. That's why it's more advanced. The question of why is it difficult is like the main reason I wanted to make this video. So why is this difficult? Two reasons, yeah? You have to know what you want, which I've just talked about. And then you also have to enact self-discipline. Those are the two big things, knowing what you want and self-discipline. This is why it's actually quite hard, even though it's very, very simple. Like, it's very simple in theory, hard in practice. One of those things. Like, you have to, as a guy especially, you have to like screen out girls that are really hot. Like, screen out girls that your like physiology and your biology is like, I really want to sleep with that girl. I really want to date that girl. But she doesn't meet screening criteria. She would basically be something that down the road would probably be quite negative for your life, quite difficult for you to deal with, taking time away from girls who are more suitable, just generally causing you to lose time, lose energy, get upset, These are the things we're trying to avoid by being stricter about this, by being more disciplined with the way you approach dating. So it is, yeah, it's hard for girls too, obviously. I see, you see girls dating guys that aren't good for them, or like they haven't prioritized the things that they actually say they want and stuff like that. I'm not saying guys are specifically the worst at this, but just my experience as a dude, I know it is all about self-discipline, all about sticking to what you want, even when your body is just like, you're horny, you're like, you really want to have sex, or you're feeling in a romantic mood or whatever, and you're like, you're seeing what they call it, rose tinted glasses. There we go. You got rose tinted glasses on, and your mind is in like delusional land, and you're just ignoring all the criteria that you should be doing. Therefore, it's actually better with screening, as I said earlier, to be aggressive early with it. You want to be screening out and saying no to people very early, like unmatching them off the apps. Saying, hey, that's not really what I'm looking for. If you're in person, just walking away. Being a bit more, I wasn't say the word brutal, but it's like, it kind of is a little bit, but you are saving everyone like a lot of time and effort and hurt to like just end things as early as possible, to figure this stuff out as early as possible. The better you are at this, the more kind of brutal it's going to feel, because you're just like, screening a lot out. Especially on the apps, if you have a successful profile, you are just saying no thank you to a lot of girls who are interested. So it's one of those things where, yeah, self-discipline to the point where it feels kind of mean almost, but you are protecting yourself, you're protecting your time, you're protecting your emotional capacity, and you are aiming for a very simple, straightforward dating life where you have screened in the right people. The last question I had is, isn't this approach a little bit clinical? Does it like remove all of the romance from dating? Yes, it does a little bit, I think. But also, if you're ethically non-monogamous like I am and a bunch of my friends are, you find your life becomes so much easier when you have screened in girls that are like reliable, are good communicators, are into the same stuff sexually as you are obviously completely okay with ethical non-monogamy. That's something we screen for quite strictly. These sort of things really like make your life so much simpler and easier. And you don't get 3 or 4 dates down the line and having slept with someone and built up a little bit of connection and feelings with someone, and then you realize, fuck, they don't meet the criteria, now I have to end it. That you don't have that anymore. You don't have that emotional turmoil. There's a lot of stuff. It's mostly about avoiding negatives. It really is. I know it feels like trying not to lose, but it's counterintuitive, because it's like being quite negative and having to run through some anxiety and fear in the beginning to create something a lot easier down the line, to create a more like stress-free dating life. If you want a chaotic, crazy, romantic approach to life, fucking go for it, man. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. Like, go for it. Go try it. I'd also give 6 months of trying it this way. Just try multiple ways of doing things. But yeah, I have the same thoughts of that. Like, is this too clinical? Is this like a little bit like taking all the joy out of it? Do I like the chaos? Do I like, having to break up like 15 different things that are going too serious? I didn't want them to, getting too far down the line with girls who aren't good for me. That kind of stuff. This is being more brutal about this. I'm going to keep using the word brutal. I'm just getting comfortable saying that. But being a bit more assertive with what I want. Screening for girls that are really into you is like the first one I would do. There's a really good article by Mark Manson called Fuck Yes or No. And it's all about looking for romantic partnerships with people who are only a fuck yes. And the girls who are like a maybe, or like they were on the fence, you want to get rid of them. You want to only go for girls who are fuck yeah. If you get nothing else from this video, but try that as a screening process, you will get a lot more out of your dating life than maybe you are currently getting if you are on that level too, where you are getting results, but you're not quite dating with the girls you want to. That's what I recommend. Hope you got something from this video. Whoever watches this, peace out.